Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SWU Sports Network as we have a great night of Conference Carolinas men's basketball coming your way. Tonight's matchup is between the number 13 ranked Erskine College and the number 3 ranked Southern Wesleyan University Warriors.
As of right now, Erskine is 4-19 and Southern Wesleyan is 15-6.
Definitely going to be an interesting matchup as the bottom number 13 comes up against the number 3 Warriors. So we will see how that goes in about 14 minutes. I'm Ryan McCachran, joined up tonight in the box by Jacob Gordine. And we will see how this game goes. Definitely SWU coming in off of, right now, a 2-game win streak, and Erskine is coming off of a 3-game loss streak. So definitely will be an interesting matchup tonight. And we will see you back here in a little bit. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back. The starting lineup for Erskine College is number 5, Jalen Prelude. Number 12, R.J. Bell. Number 20, Amandi Brooks. Number 21, Travis Walters. And number 35, Tavis Bridges. The head coach for Erskine is Lee Sarter with his 4th season, and the assistant coach is Robert McClure as his 1st season.
The starting lineup for the SWU men's Warriors is number 0, Tajay Dunlap. Number 4, Solomon Smith. Number 5, Julian Cameron. Number 10, Quentin Reeves. Number 13, DeMarcus Addy. And number 35, Trenard Farrell. SWU is coached by Nick Pascu. Assistant coaches are Brian Hewitt and Dexter Terry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we are moments away from tip-off against Erskine College. Going up for tip-off, Erskine winning it.
With number 12, RJ Bell getting handed the ball. Over to number 35, Tavis Bridges. Number 20, handing it over to number 5, going in for the long 3, missing it, but getting Erskine getting the rebound. Looks like there will be a shooting foul on SWU, and number 35, Tavis Bridges, getting 2 free throw points, or two free throws. Bridges making the first one with 1 more to go, getting him, Erskine, and the lead. Number 35, Tavis Bridges making both free throw points, handing it over to SWU.
Cameron taking it in for SWU, now giving it over to Dunlap. Over to Smith, now over to Farrell. Farrell trying to create space here for the team. Farrell pushing in. Farrell going for a layup, not going to be able to convert for the 2 points. Back over to Erskine.
Bridges getting the rebound, handing it over to number 12, Bell. Passing it to Prelude. Back to Bell. Prelude going in for the 2-point, but not making it, and then number 35, Bridges, making it, handing it over to SWU.
Addy going to be taking it in for SWU, giving it off over to Dunlap now. Dunlap in the left corner, trying to get a screen off, giving it over to Farrell. SWU still in possession here with Addy. Addy over to Dunlap. Addy trying to drive in, giving it over to Smith. Smith not being able to get this in here. Looks like Smith getting a free throw.
Looks like it would just be 1 free throw. Actually, it will be 2 free throws, with number 4 for SWU getting the first one in. Missing the second one, handing it back over to Erskine.
Now making it 4-1 here.
With number 12, RJ Bell, going in for the long 3, missing it and handing it back into SWU's possession.
Addy going up now for the layup, missing the layup, giving it back over to Erskine College.
Walters getting the rebound for Erskine, handing it over to Bell. Bell trying to drive it in, but having to back up, handing it over to Prelude. Back to Bell. Bell driving in hard, passing it back to Walters. Walters going in for the layup, making the 2-point. Now making the score 4-1, Erskine lead.
SWU coming back in now. Smith, Cameron passing it over into Dunlap. Dunlap trying to get a quick push in here. Dunlap trying to go, getting a nasty fall and not getting the layup either.
That will be a shooting foul on Erskine, with Dunlap getting a shooting foul, going in for free throws, with 2 free throws.
Dunlap going up here, not making the first. SWU remaining with Solomon Smith of their only point here, while Travis Watt.
The ball being handed back to Erskine, with number 20 handing it over to number 12, Bell. Bell back to Prelude. Prelude trying to drive it in, handing it over to number 20, Brooks.
Back over with SWU now. Addy pushing it in, giving it over to Smith. Smith over to Dunlap. Dunlap to Cameron, to Farrell. Farrell trying to push it in. Farrell converting now for 3, making it 4-3, getting on the board.
Erskine's with ball, and Bell handing it over to Brooks. Brooks going in for a long 3, missing it and handing it back to SWU.
Recovered by Smith with a quick pass over to Dunlap. Dunlap getting over-teamed right now, trying to get it to Farrell. Addy will be taking it in now for SWU in their attacking zone. Both these teams taking a little bit of time to get into their grooves, but slowly getting there.
Erskine's defense looking very well right now as SWU is behind by 1 point.
Farrell now over to Cameron, over to Addy. Addy going in for a jump 3, not being able to get the 3, and SWU not being able to get the rebound. Now back over to Erskine.
Bell getting the rebound for Erskine. Now Bell going in for the long 3, missing it, handing it back over to SWU.
Dunlap not carrying it past midcourt. Giving it over to Addy. Addy going in for the 3, not making the 3, giving it back over to Erskine as they go into midcourt.
Walters getting the rebound, handing it over to Bell. Bell to Prelude. Prelude to Brooks. Brooks going in for the 3, missing it, with handing it back to SWU.
Dunlap now coming back into the attacking zone, trying to get a quick 3 off here for SWU. Not being able to make that either. SWU's offense just not looking on right now.
With Miller getting the rebound and passing it to number 4, Caleb Brooks. Caleb Brooks also getting a very nice layup and now making the score 6-3 Erskine lead.
Dunlap coming back now, trying to make something happen here. Over to Smith. Over to Farrell. Farrell to Addy. Trying to get one in quick to Smith. Smith converting for 2, making it 6-5. SWU behind by 1.
Walters handing it over to Bell. Bell is in possession right now, driving it hard, going in for the layup, missing the layup, but Walters getting the rebound again. Bell getting the second rebound, handing it over to Prelude. Prelude trying to drive in, but being pushed back by SWU's defense. Going for a long 2-point, making it in, now making the score 8-5, handing it over to SWU.
Addy pushing it in now for SWU, trying to get a quick guard off by Farrell. Going in for 2, faking it out, going over to Cameron. Cameron going in for a 3. What a play by SWU, making it 8-8 tied. 14:48 left to go.
Erskine now possession with Bell handing it off to Miller, handing it off to Prelude. Prelude driving it in, handing it off to Brooks. Back to Bell. Back to Walters. Walters trying to drive it in, passing it back to Brooks. Brooks going for a long 3, missing it and knocking it out of bounds.
SWU trying to call the ball out on Erskine, but it looks like Erskine will remain in possession. SWU calling a timeout now. We'll be right back here on SWU Sports Network. Looking at the top scorers right now, Erskine is actually in a 3-way tie for first as Travis Walters Tavis Bridges, and Jalen Prioli are all tied for a total of 2 points right now with a total of 8-8. Going over to SWU, Solomon Smith and Julian Cameron are tied for first with a total of 3 points on each, and Trinard Farrell are off by 1.
Erskine handing it over to number 2, Jalen Miller. Back to Jalen Miller with Walters in possession right now. Handing it off to number 5, Prelude. Prelude going in for the layup, but missing it and putting it into SWU's possession.
Farrell trying to get out of there quick, but sadly getting an out-of-bounds call, not giving it over to Erskine.
It looks like Schuler will be passing it in for Erskine. With Walters going in for the layup, making the layup with a 2-point lead now. 10-8 Erskine lead.
Bradford carrying it in for SWU, passing it over to Addy. Bradford still in possession, giving it to Farrell. Back over to Bradford. Bradford trying to go in for a 3. Traveling call on Bradford.
Ball now being put into Erskine's possession with number 21, Travis Walters, handing it in to number 0, Lance Schuler. Number 2 now in possession, now giving it to Brooks. Brooks going in for a long 2, making the 2. Now putting it with a 4-way lead of Erskine, 12-8.
Bradford now in the attacking zone for SWU, trying to make something happen, passing it over to Farrell here, over to Addy. Addy going in, trying to get a 2-point conversion right here, getting the 2-point conversion. Now back over to Erskine.
Erskine has ball right now with Schuler in possession. Handing it over to Miller, back to Brooks, back to Schuler. With Walters going in for the layup. Walters getting the layup for Erskine, handing it over to SWU.
Addy coming back down now here. Addy coming in, getting a partial screen by Farrell, getting another screen. Back over to Reeves. Reeves over to Hunter. Or Bradford. Over to Farrell. Over to Hunter, now going in for the 3. Hunter with almost a long 3 going back off the Gray's rim.
Prelude getting the rebound for Erskine. Erskine to Miller. Miller to Schuler. Trying to drive it in, passing it back to Walters. Over to Schuler again. Going in for the layup. Lance Schuler getting the layup, now putting it a 6-way lead for Erskine.
Definitely so, Jake. Six-score lead here by Erskine. SWU trying to get their offense going here in the attacking zone still. Addy trying to push in, going for a fadeaway 3, converting the fadeaway 3, making it now a 3. Apparently it was only a 2, now 16-12, back over into Erskine's possession.
Brooks now going in for the layup, but SWU's defense stopped him. It looks like there will be a foul on the play. Looks like SWU will be calling a timeout.
Definitely say both of these teams, once they started getting into the groove, have definitely been coming out firing, as Erskine only has a 4-point lead to SWU now, 16-12.
Erskine looking really high on the offense, with Travis Walters getting a total of 6 points right now, followed by Tavis Bridges with a total of 4 points, and Jalen Prelude with a total of 4 as well.
Solomon Smith, Julian Cameron, and DeMarcus Addy are all tied right now for a total of 9 points here. Someone trying to come out on top here for SWU's offense. SWU's defense is definitely doing very well now with Trenard Farrell playing. Trying to get in those rebounds when he can, and having the opportunity to do that.
The score now 16-12, Erskine lead with 11:39 left in the first half.
And as we mentioned previously, Erskine's offense is definitely looking pretty good right now compared to SWU, as their offensive rebounds are a solid 60% over SWU. But defensive rebounds, again, with Trenard Farrell in this game making a huge impact on them. 8-6 in defensive rebounds as well. But as this game picks up, we hope to see both teams getting better on offense and defense, with Erskine bringing it in now.
With Schuler passing it over to number 33, Stark, going in for a 2, but missing it, handing it over to SWU.
Dunlap pushing down now, being very aggressive with the screen by Reeves. Dunlap going in now for a 2, but an assist by Solomon Smith for the 2. 16-4, 16-14, my bad.
With Miller handing over to Schuler. Over to Brooks. The Prelude. Prelude driving it in hard, trying to go in for the layup. But SWU's defense hold him up. And looks like there will be a foul on the play with a shooting foul. And it looks like Prelude will be able to get free throws. Looks like he will be able to go for 2 points. Making the first one, number 5, Jalen Prelude. Now making the score 17-14. Going in for the second free throw. Missing it, with SWU getting the rebound.
Reeves able to receive that rebound, passing it over to Dunlap, who will be pushing in through center court. Great screen by Smith, giving Dunlap an almost free time, losing control of the ball though, but taking it back. Now over to Cameron. Over to Bradford. Bradford now back over to Cameron. Back over to Bradford, trying to get something set up here. Over to Reeves. Screen set up. Reeves still with the ball, trying to get it passed over to Cameron, but unfortunately Erskine stealing that.
With Schuler now in possession of the ball, handing it back over to Prelude. Ref calls.
Prelude getting a traveling call, now giving it back over to SWU.
Erskine really fighting for this win today, as they are leading 3 points, 17-14.
Dunlap now with it on the right side, pushing it back over to mid, over to Smith. Giving it over to Cameron, back over to Dunlap, trying to make something happen here. SWU still in possession, trying to get this going. Bradford over here, finding wide open Solomon Smith, going in for the 2. 17-16, Erskine by 1 point lead. 6-10, 9:58 left to go.
Schuler passing to Edwards, back to Schuler. Schuler now in ball possession. Passing it back to Edwards. Edwards trying to go in for the long 2. Missing the long 2, and then SWU getting the rebound.
Dunlap now pushing down, trying to get people in position. Smith trying to set up a screen here. Smith's getting the screen now over to Cameron. Cameron going up, trying to get it now over to Hunter. Hunter trying to push it, almost losing control. Losing control completely after a few seconds of struggle. Now over to Erskine.
Schuler passing it to Brooks. Throwing it out of bounds. And it looks like it will be SWU's ball.
Quick change coming in for SWU. Erskine taking it in.
Number 2, Miller, is in possession of the ball, passing it to Walters. Walters back to Miller. With Edwards going in for the 3, missing the 3, almost losing control of the ball, with Walters, with number 22, Thomas, getting the 2 point lead.
SWU having a bit of miscommunication as Dunlap and Farrell try to go for the ball at the same time, giving it over back to Erskine. Now with Cameron going in for the long 3 for SWU. Looks like he'll be getting a call for him, missing the 3. Getting an attempt at a free throw. Ref is calling out, it'll be 3 points. Potential for Cameron again to try and tie up this game for SWU, making it 19-19. Now 19-17 after a successful first attempt. Now going in for a second. making the second attempt with a beautiful swish coming off in the back. Cameron making the third and final free throw. What a majestic free throw.
Erskine almost losing control of the ball there, almost knocking it out of bounds, with Schuler in possession right now. Trying to drive it in with Thomas going in, knocking it, throwing it out of bounds, putting it into SWU's possession.
Addy taking it out now, passing it into Dunlap.
SWU's offense is really going for it as they have now tied the game 19-19.
Cameron trying to set up something here. Over to Farrell, over to Addy. Addy looking for a screen, not going to be able to get it. Now back over to Smith. Oh, beautiful pass from Dunlap to Smith, giving SWU 21-19 lead.
With Thomas passing it to Schuler. The SWU now leading 21-19. Over to Thomas. Thomas trying to drive it in to get the layup. Going in for the layup, but SWU's defense was too good.
Smith getting a beautiful block, still in Erskine's possession though.
Schuler going in for the long two, getting it in. Now tie game again, 21-21.
Dunlap taking it back in now. Over to Addy. Addy trying to get the screen by Farrell, not going to be enough. Giving it over to Farrell now, trying to get some free space. Back over to Addy. Addy over to Dunlap. Dunlap, Cameron in the corner, trying to go in for a push. Trying to go in for the push to get a 2-point. Looking like he will be getting a foul called.
Looks like there will be a timeout called. There'll be a foul on Erskine with
looks like 7:18 left to go. It's still a tie game here. And now Solomon Smith has actually taken over the points category for both SWU and Erskine, as now Travis Walters is only with a total of 6 and Solomon Smith with a total of 9. Julian Cameron also leading by 6 over DeLong Schuler and Caleb Brooks. DeMarcus Addy tied with Schuler and Brooks with a total of 4. Definitely SWU trying to get started up here. Both coaches definitely wanting to go in with the team, say, hey guys, we need to pick this up, make sure that you're doing good on offense as well as defense here. But both teams have came out firing in the gates.
both teams' defense and offense are looking really well, as it is right now a tie game, 21-21 with 7:18 left in the first half. Erskine coming off with high offense as they started leading the game. But SWU's defense has started taking over, allowing SWU to come back and tie the game up.
SWU's defense, that is, especially with Trenard, Farrell, and Solomon Smith, definitely some of the guys that you'll be seeing getting those late rebounds and definitely making sure to be able to create those screens so that the players have some good room to move around. Coming back in now, Julian Cameron. Coming in for his first free throw attempt. Makes the free throw, 22-21 now. SWU up by a 1-point lead here. Cameron going up again, making it again, 23-21, back in Erskine's possession at midcourt.
Schuler has ball in hand now. Passing it to Bell. Over to Walters. Back to Bell. Now Thomas losing control of the ball, putting it into SWU's possession.
Great defense right there. Now Addy pushing it down in the zone. It looks like it will be a turnover back into Erskine's possession again. Don't know, but from our perspective, that did not look like it should go into Erskine's ball, but ref is challenged.
Looks like Thomas would be passing it into Schuler. Schuler trying to drive it in over to Walters.
Bad pass from Erskine, putting it out of bounds.
Prelude tossing it, passing it to his teammate, but accidentally losing control of the ball and knocking it out of bounds. Handing it over back to SWU. Actually, it will be Erskine's ball with Schuler passing it in. Handing it to Walters. Back to Schuler. Schuler going in for the 2, making a beautiful layup there. Now putting the score back tied, 23-23.
Head coach for SWU definitely not looking happy about that. Maybe thinking we need to change something up here. But now back into SWU's possession. Farrell passing it over to Dunlap. Dunlap in possession on the right side, giving it over to Reeves. Now over to Addy. Addy trying to give it over to Reeves. Reeves trying to push in, make his way in. Reeves going in for the 2, not being able to successfully get the rebound off his shot. Now giving it back over to Erskine, charging heavily into attacking territory.
With Bell handing it over to Thomas. Thomas losing control, handing it back over to Dunlap.
Dunlap now giving it back to Addy. Punt fake 3, going in for the 3. And 1, 26-23. Now back over to Erskine after a beautiful 3 shot.
With Schuler now handing it over to Bell. Over to Prelude. Prelude going in, tossing it to Walters. Walters is going in for the layup. Walters getting a beautiful layup, now making the score 25-26. SWU lead.
Even after the defense of Farrell and Reeves, Erskine still able to score. SWU now back in with Addy in control. Over to Reeves. Reeves passing it back over to Addy. Addy going in, giving it to Farrell. Farrell trying to go in for a dunk or layup, but not being able to get either. Now over into Erskine, charging in.
With Prelude going in for the layup, missing because of SWU's defense. Looks like it will be SWU's ball.
Passing it in for SWU will be number 5, Julian Cameron. Cameron over to Dunlap now. Dunlap pushing it in. Definitely trying to create a bigger gap as they only have a 1-point lead. Over to Cameron. Cameron charging in here. Giving over to Farrell. Farrell to Addy. Addy trying to create space for himself, going for a back 3. Missing the 3 off of the backboard. Giving it now back over to Erskine.
Bell getting the rebound for Erskine, trying to drive it in. Trying to figure out what he can do. SWU knocking it out of his hands, going back, passing it to Schuler. Schuler passing it over to Brooks. With Walters going in for the layup, but SWU's defense was too good there. And now it's back over the SWU's possession.
Great defense by Farrell there. Now with Cameron going down for a 3, not being able to get it, and Reeves trying to go for the rebound, not getting it, going back over to Erskine now.
Prelude getting the rebound for Erskine, passing it over to Schuler. Schuler going in for the long 3, making it in with an assist. The score now 27-26, Erskine lead.
SWU calling a timeout.
With 4:07 left in this half, SWU still has a chance to pick it up and win this part of the game.
Nothing changing here as far as leaders going. Erskine now has Travis Walters still at a total of 8. Schuler going out by 6, and Prelude with 5 now. Solomon Smith still leading SWU with 9. Julian Cameron and DeMarcus Addy by 1 and 2 of 8 and 7. We'll be right back here on SWU Sports Network. Welcome back into the SWU Sports Network. Dunlap now taking it in, giving it over to Addy. Back to Dunlap. Dunlap going to now be pushing it into attacking zone. Giving it over to Addy now, trying to set up for Dunlap. Giving it over to Dunlap, trying to create a quick screen. Dunlap going in, missing the three severely. Now over to Erskine possession.
Prelude getting the ball, handing it over to Bell. Bell going in for the three, making a beautiful three. Now putting the score 30-26. Erskine lead.
SWU taking a small error there, but now back into SWU's possession. We'll see what can happen. Addy to Reeves. To Bradford. Trying to get it over to Reeves. Looks like it should be out on Erskine. SWU's ball still. Addy taking it in for SWU in their own zone. Definitely looking for someone to be open here. Giving it all the way back to Reeves. Reeves trying to go in right here. Trying to look for some space. Getting punched down by Erskine's defense, but getting it back up for the layup. Now 30-28. Back over to Erskine possession.
Brooks handing it into Bell. Handing it over to Schuler. Schuler driving in slowly. Handing it over to Walters. Walters over to Bell. Bell handing it over back to Schuler. Schuler giving it to Brooks over the Prelude. Back to Schuler. Schuler trying to drive in and handing it over to Walters with the assist, and Walters getting a beautiful layup there, now putting the score 32-28, Erskine lead.
Walters coming in before that, trying to get the screen, but then going in for the layup after a beautiful assist. Back in SWU's possession, Dunlap on the left side. Farrell trying to provide a screen, not going to be enough. Reeves trying to go in now. Whistle by the ref. Looks like it'll be an Erskine possession.
Looks like Walters is passing it in. Walters to Schuler. Schuler driving it in slowly, handing it over to Brooks. Brooks over to Prelude. Back to Bell. Bell trying to drive in, but getting blocked. Brooks back in possession, over to Bell again. Bell trying to drive it in, but gets blocked by SWU's amazing defense, but still manages to get the two, which makes the score now 34-28.
Addy now pushing it in. Dunlap over to Reeves. Reeves going for the three, making the three in. 34-31. Only down by three now for SWU. Over to Erskine.
Schuler getting a long pass over to Walters. Walters making a beautiful dunk there. Now making the score 36-31, Erskine lead.
SWU doing better on offense, but definitely needs to start picking up on defense, as they are not holding up very well to Erskine's offense right now. Bad pass off SWU now going in for possession. Miller taking it in for Erskine.
It will look like Walters will be passing it to Schuler. Walters to Schuler. Schuler over to Brooks. Brooks going in for the long three, missing it, putting it back into SWU's possession.
Addy pushing now in through midcourt. Addy trying to find some room, finds Smith. Back over to Addy. Addy going in for the three. Making the three, now making it 36-34 with less than a minute to go.
Brooks handing it to Schuler. Schuler driving in slow. Trying to find an open teammate to pass it to. Handing it over to Bell. Bell back to Schuler. Schuler passing it to Walters. Walter passing it back to Schuler. Schuler going in for the two, but missing it, putting it back into SWU's possession.
Smith going up for the rebound, getting it successfully. Now over to Addy. Addy slowly pushing in. Trying to get a plan of action going here. Addy trying to get teammates to go to the right place. Not working out very well. Smith setting up a screen. Addy getting punched out. Addy coming back in, giving over to Smith. Smith going up, tie game 36-36 with 10 seconds left.
Schuler going in, handing it over to Bell. Bell trying to go in for the layup. Handing it over to Walters. Walters going in for the layup, making the score now 38-36, and that is the first half of the game, with Erskine leading 38-36. What an amazing play by Erskine there.
SWU now down by 2 points, 38-36, with the first half done. Or the second half actually now going into the second period after this break. Little bit of change. Walters is still leading with a total of 14 points, as Schuler and Bell are behind him with 6 and 5. Solomon Smith with a total of 11 now, followed right behind DeMarcus Addy with 10 and Julian Cameron 8. Definitely not what SWU wanted to see coming out of this first period, but we have seen this many times before of SWU definitely falling behind in the first half, not by much, but just by a little, and then coming back in the second half, firing out. But nothing new here for SWU. Definitely can come back in this.
Erskine really showing up to the game here, as they are doing really well, their offensive and their defensive, with Erskine now leading 38-36, putting SWU behind.
And Jake, as I mentioned earlier, we've definitely seen, I think even last game, playing at home against Valkyries, they were not doing the hottest in the first half, but came out in the second half and definitely picked up both the offense and defense, having their players needing or going where they should have been. And looks like also the case with Erskine playing like the Valkyries did last game. They came out ready. They were going back against SWU. They came out with a several-point lead, but SWU turned it on in the second half. But definitely a better turnout by Erskine right now than the last game that SWU played.
If SWU wants to keep their leading streak going, they need to really turn up in the second half and leave Erskine in the dust, which is a possibility, as SWU is number 3 ranked in the conference.
We have also seen a fair amount of, definitely with both sides of defense, but definitely with SWU's defense, trying to be there when they need to, and had a couple of outplays to where they could have done better on both sides, but definitely I think SWU coming out on top here with defense right now, especially Trenard Farrell and Solomon Smith definitely getting the work in that they need to and where it should be. But we'll be taking a brief break, and we'll be back in a little bit. Thank you for watching SWU Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SWU Sports Network, as we are about a minute and 20 seconds from the second period. Both teams out here getting a warm-up. Erskine's still warming up. Looks like SWU's in a huddle. Definitely should be fun going back into this after both teams have had a break. Some time to discuss some of the mistakes and things that they could have done potentially better in the first period.
As you all know, Erskine is leading the game 38-36 right now.
Definitely both teams coming out now to see what they can do. SWU might be trying to prove, hey, we're the number 3 team here. We got this in the bag. We'll come out. And Erskine trying to prove, hey, just because we're one of the lower level teams, we can still come out and beat this team. So definitely going to be an interesting second period here as we are about to get underway with 34 seconds left on the clock. We'll be back in a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in now. Looks like SWU will start with possession here. Looks like number 5, Julian Cameron, will be taking the ball back in here as we start the second period. 38-36, 2-point lead for Erskine here. And here we go. Dunlap carrying it back in now here for SWU. Addy. Now back over to Cameron, over to Smith. Farrell here, over to Dunlap. Dunlap trying to get some start up here, pushing in. Looks like it will be a charging foul by Dunlap. No, charging foul on Erskine as SWU will still have possession in their attacking zone. Passing it into Farrell, now over to Smith. Cameron, over to Addy. Farrell trying to create a screen, giving it over to Farrell, trying to go in for a dunk, but will not hit where the target was intended to. Now giving it back over to Erskine.
Walter over to Schuler. Schuler driving in slowly, passing it back to Walter. Back to Schuler. Schuler driving it in, going in for the layup, but being blocked by SWU. Looks like there will be a little bit of an injury with Schuler on the ground.
Satter telling both teams to go back to their respective benches as they figure out what is going on with Erskine's player.
It looks like Schuler's knee, when he landed back on the ground, he did not land properly and hurt his knee. Schuler now getting back up, going back to the bench as he will need to recover from that.
Thankfully, no injury or major injury occurred with Schuler. Looks like he might be getting out here soon. Erskine in ball control still.
With Bell passing it in, passing it over to number 35, Bridges. Over back to Bell. Over to Brooks. Over the Prelude. Back to Bell. Bell trying to drive in, going in for the long 2, missing it. Looks like it'll be handed over to SWU.
Addy passing it in for SWU now. Over to Dunlap. Dunlap pushing here, getting a screen by Farrell, going in for the three, getting the three. Now 39-38, 1-point lead. SWU back over to Erskine.
With Walter passing it in to Bell. Bell passing it over to Brooks. Brooks over to Walter, over the Prelude, back to Bell. Bell trying to go in, passing it over to Brooks. Brooks going in for the three, making a beautiful three by Brooks, handing it over to SWU.
Addy carrying it, now giving it over to Dunlap. Dunlap pushing up right side. Dunlap trying to create something over to Smith now. Over to Cameron. Cameron over to Smith. Smith going in for a layup. Going now 41-41, tie game, 18-15, Erskine possession.
Walter passing it over to Bell. Bell driving in hard over the Prelude. Handing it over back to Bell. Bell going in for a three, making a beautiful three by Bell, giving it back to SWU.
Dunlap coming in now. Both these teams trading out points here. Over to Farrell. Farrell over to Cameron. Over to Dunlap, or over to Addy. Farrell going in for the three in the corner, missing the three, giving it back over to Erskine.
With Bell getting the rebound, pushing in hard, hitting it back, but SWU getting the rebound.
Great spin move recovery. Here comes Addy. Addy going in. Don't really know what was going through Addy's head, but still keeping it in. Control of SWU. Addy bringing it in. Going over to Smith now. Over to Farrell. Farrell over to Dunlap. Dunlap over to Farrell. Cameron. Cameron pushing in, giving it back over to Farrell. Farrell going in for the three. Missing the three off the grazed rim, right side, and back over to Erskine.
With Prelude getting the rebound, pushing in, passing it back to Bell. Bell going in, trying to drive in, getting as close as he can, handing it over to Walter. Walter giving it back to Bell. Bell going in for the three. And making a very peculiar three, handing it back over to SWU.
Dunlap now pressing in. Dunlap still in control, passing it in, giving it over to Smith now. Over to Addy. Addy to Cameron. Farrell, Cameron. Cameron going in for the three. Making three. 47-44. Back over to Erskine's possession.
With Walter handing it over to Bell. Bell handing it over to number 35, Bridges, but loses control, handing it back over to SWU.
Addy going in for the fake dunk, getting the layup. Now 47-46, 16-27 left. Erskine up by one. Erskine possession midcourt.
With Bell in possession of the ball, trying to get his teammates into an open position, handing it over to Brooks. Brooks going in for the far three, missing it, handing it back over to SWU.
Recovery by Farrell, now over to Addy. Addy hard pushing, hard driving, going in. Fadeaway two, bouncing off. Smith not able to recover rebound, now back over to Erskine, middle.
Bridges getting the recovery, handing it over to Bell. Bell driving slowly, trying to figure out what he could do, handing it over to Brooks. Brooks trying to drive it in, going in for a far two, missing the two and knocking it out of bounds, handing it back over to SWU.
Close game right now. Looks like Erskine calling a timeout. We'll be right back here on SWU Sports Network. SWU coming in now. Cameron passing it into Dunlap. Dunlap pushing in through mid slowly. Trying to get something started. Outweighing the defender, giving it over to Addy. Addy pushing in. Looks like it's a call on Erskine. Still in SWU's possession. Addy now. Addy trying to find open. Connects to Dunlap. Dunlap getting a screen off of Addy. Dunlap going in for the three. Almost making it. Hunter trying to go in for the recovery. Not getting it. Going over to Erskine. Erskine pushing in. Erskine still with the ball.
It looks like Erskine is still in possession of the ball, with Bell passing it in. Bell connecting it with Prelude. Prelude trying to drive in to get a 2-point. Passing it to Bridges. Bridges going in for the layup, making a beautiful layup with number 35, Bridges getting that 2-point, handing it over to SWU.
Addy connecting over to Dunlap. Dunlap coming down center. Screened by Reeves. Cameron. Dunlap now coming in, giving it over to Addy. Now over to Reeves. Reeves pushing in here, getting carried. Hunter going up. Reeves trying to recover it. 3 saves by Erskine.
With Bridges getting the recovery, handing it over to Bell. Going in for the long 3, but
Addy getting it back now. Dunlap going in, trying to dunk on them, but getting a foul in the process.
it looks like that will be a shooting foul on Erskine, with Dunlap getting a free throw.
Looks like going in for 2 has the potential to take SWU down by 1. This is first free throw off the edge of the rim. Bradford coming in.
Looks like Schuler is back in the game after his mid-game injury.
Addy going up again. Dunlap missing. Now in Erskine possession. Oh, Bradford takes it back. Gets the and one. 48-49. What an incredible play by SWU's offense. Back into Erskine possession.
With Prelude handing it over to Brooks, back over to Schuler. Schuler trying to drive it in, handing it over to Thomas. Thomas over to Bridges, but loses control, and Addy takes it.
Addy taking it down now. Not being able to get it in. Looks like a foul on Erskine now. Giving it back over to SWU. SWU's offense starting to turn up now.
Looks like there will be a free throw for Addy with 2.
Addy going up. Addy tying the game 49-49. Addy getting another attempt here. Addy making 2 attempts, going up by 1, 50-49, 13:43 left.
With Prelude with the ball, passing it over to Schuler. Schuler over to Thomas. Thomas trying to drive it in, handing it over to Brooks. Back to Prelude. Back to Schuler. Thomas going in for the 3. Missing the 3, putting it into SWU's possession.
Bradford getting recovery now, back over to Addy. Addy getting the screen from Reeves. Now over to Bradford. Bradford pushing it in. Looks like it is still in SWU's possession after Erskine tried to get a out of bounds call. Addy taking it in now for SWU. Line change. Bradford now taking it in for SWU. Cameron giving a signal for Hunter. Reeves now. Addy going up for the three. Swish three. 53-49. 12:54 left to go. Erskine control down midcourt.
Bell in possession, handing it over to Schuler. Schuler driving it in, going in for the layup again. Missing the layup. With Schuler getting the recovery, trying to go again. With Thomas getting the recovery. Looks like there will be a call with the reaching fouls.
A little bit of steam coming off from Erskine's number 22, Stephen Thomas, and SWU's number 13, DeMarcus Addy.
It looks like the ball will be put into Erskine's hands with number 0, Schuler, passing it in. Schuler handing it over to Brooks. Brooks over to Bell. Back to Brooks. Back to Bell. Bell trying to go in for the three. Going in for the three. Making a beautiful three by number 12, Brooks. Bell. Putting it back in the SWU's hands.
Addy now with it, pushing through midcourt. Going up for the two. 55-52. SWU with the three-point lead. 12:05 left to go. Erskine.
With Schuler passing it to Bell. Bell passing it back to Schuler. Schuler looking for an open teammate. Passing it to Bell. Over to Brooks. Brooks going in for the three. But ref called whistle.
It was like Erskine calling a timeout. 55-52, 11:55 left to go in the second period.
SWU leading.
A good amount of movement on the Erskine and Southern Wesleyan scoring leaderboards. RJ Bell now taking first over Travis Walters, both tied at 14, and Schuler at 6. DeMarcus Addy now coming out on top for SWU with a total of 19 points, followed by Solomon Smith with 13 and Julian Cameron 11. Definitely SWU has been turning up their offense as well as Erskine has as well. Defense-wise, I think SWU is currently leading right now as, again, Trenard Farrell and Solomon Smith and a little bit of Quinn and Reeves have been doing some pretty good defense as well as screens and rebounds for both sides here, offense and defense. Jake, how do you think Erskine's been looking?
I think Erskine is falling behind this half, but still looking good in offense-wise. Their defense could use a little work as SWU's offense has really come out this half. SWU really turning up.
Erskine now in possession in their own zone. Schuler taking it out.
Schuler passing it to Thomas. Thomas trying to go in for the layup. Missing the first one, going in for a second one, but handing it back over to SWU.
Two great blocks by Smith, making sure that they don't get those points. Addy now from Bradford. Addy coming in now over to Hunter. Hunter going up for the three. Three by Hunter. 59, 58, 52, 11:30 left to go. Erskine possession.
Looks like Bell passing it over to Schuler. Schuler over to Brooks. Brooks going in for the three. Missing the three, but SWU getting the recovery.
Recovery now by Bradford. Bradford still with it. Bradford finding Cameron. Cameron for the three. Cameron swish for the three. 61-52, 11:01 left to go. Erskine's coach is not happy about the call, shouting at the ref. Both coaches are in confusion right now. Looks like Erskine's call on timeout. We'll be right back after a quick timeout on SWU Sports Network.
Looks like number 21, Walter, will be handing it over to Schuler. Schuler passing it over to Bell, passing it back to Walter with Prelude. Prelude handing it over to Schuler. Schuler over to Bell. Bell trying to drive it in, going in for a long two. Missing the two, handing it back to SWU.
Recovery by Smith here, doing great rebounds as well as Sherrard Farrell for SWU. Going in now, Addy. Addy back over to Smith. Back over to Addy. Addy trying to get this set up here. Trying to get a long into Smith. Looks like SWU will be receiving the ball still. Still on SWU's possession. Looks like another timeout called by Erskine. Definitely SWU starting to turn up now, both on defensive and offensive rebounds. SWU leading about 1% more on defensive rebounds, and they're still getting a little bit of trouble on offensive rebounds, but Sherrard Farrell and Solomon Smith definitely making work in, as well as Addy Reeves and Dunlap making sure to secure those threes. We'll be right back after a brief break on SWU Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SWU Sports Network. SWU still in position. Bradford taking it in, giving it over to Hunter now. Over to Smith. Smith pushing in now over to Addy, creating a screen. Addy trying to push and giving it over to Smith. Smith a little bit off of where he needed to be for that pass to work. Now back over to Erskine possession.
Walter handing it over to Schuler. Walter in possession, handing it over to Prelude. Back over to Schuler. Handing it to Edwards.
SWU now in possession. Bradford's going to be putting it into Dunlap, who is back in the game now. Dunlap still in possession. Farrell also back in, giving it over to Farrell. Farrell over to Dunlap. creating a screen for Dunlap. Back over to Hunter. Farrell over to Bradford. Farrell trying to create a screen for Bradford. Bradford still in. Less than 10 seconds on. Bradford with a follow-up three, making it 64-52. What a shot. Back over Erskine possession.
With Prelude in possession of the ball, handing it over the Bridges. Bridges going in for the long two, making the long two, making the score now 63-54, SWU lead.
Dunlap coming back in. Dunlap on far right, getting a screen from Farrell. Dunlap over to Hunter. Hunter coming in over to Bradford. Cameron. Farrell back over to Cameron. Cameron for the three. Cameron off the re.
SWU knocking it out of bounds, handing it over to Erskine.
Taking it for Erskine is number 21, Travis Walters.
Walters handing it over to Schuler. Schuler driving in hard. Trying to pass it to number 21, Walters, but knocking it out of bounds.
Miscommunication, sending the ball into the crowd. Trying to figure out whose ball will it be. Looks like it'll be Erskine's.
With Miller passing it over to Schuler. Schuler trying to drive in hard. Going in for the long two, missing the long two. Regaining the recovery, passing it back all the way to Prelude. Prelude trying to drive it back, but Dunlap stealing the ball, driving in hard, going in for the dunk, but making the layup instead.
Making the layup and also getting a foul. Looks like the shot will not be called. 63-54. Still in SWU's possession. Cameron caking in now for SWU, heading it over to Dunlap, over to Hunter. Hunter over to Bradford. Farrell getting Bradford screen. Bradford pushing in. Not making the two. Not making the two, but Bradford getting a free throw for 2 points. Could make them go up to a 65-54 lead if he can make both. Going up for the first. Makes the first one in, no problem with ease. 64-54. SWU now has a 10-point lead. Can expand and make it 11. Bradford about to go up for a second attempt. Bradford's second attempt is good off of a backboard assist. 65-54, 11-point lead, 8:22 left. Now turned over to Erskine.
Looks like Brooks will be handing it over to Bell. Bell over to Schuler. Back to Bell. Schuler in possession now. Miller back to Brooks. Over to Bell. Bell trying to get an opening. Handing it over to Schuler. Schuler trying to drive in but being pushed back. Handing it over to Walter. Walter trying to go in for the layup. Making a beautiful layup by Walter. Making the score 65-56. SWU lead.
Back over into SWU's possession. Cameron driving it up. Over to Dunlap. Dunlap still held out a little bit above center court. Trying to push in here. Getting an interesting screen by Farrell. Farrell in possession. Now over to Bradford. Bradford pushing up. Oh, back to Dunlap. Dunlap for the three. Dunlap for the three. 68-56, 7:20. Erskine possession.
Schuler now with ball possession, almost losing control, handing it over to Bell. With Miller in possession now. Going back with Brooks. Brooks trying to drive in to get the two. Going in for the two, missing the two with SWU in possession again.
Farrell with great defense on that block. Coach is trying to challenge the ref, not thinking that that is the best call, but ref's decision will hold. Now number 4, Caleb Brooks will have a free throw opportunity.
Looks like we're going into a timeout. Each team pulling out. Each team is doing really good. But SWU now leading 68-56.
SWU having a great 12-point lead here. Definitely starting to try to take this game away and not let them have an opportunity to come back, but with a 12-point lead. 7:07 still up on the clock. Plenty of time for Erskine to turn this game around if they are ready to take that chance. Currently, as we mentioned in the last game, SWU was behind in the first half, and coming out to the second half, they turned on and got their guys together and started doing what they do best, and that is taking the game away. And so far, that is what they have been doing. Erskine's still trying to hang on, but at a certain point, SWU gets into an element where they cannot be stopped, and that is looking like where it's going. But as mentioned earlier, 7:07 with a 12-point lead. Erskine still has plenty of time to take it back if they do so desire. We'll be right back on the SWU Sports Network.
For Erskine, number 4, Caleb Brooks going in for the first free throw, making it, putting the score now 68-57 SWU lead. Going in for the second one, missing it, with SWU in possession of the ball.
Hunter now over to Dunlap. Dunlap pushing it up left side court. Dunlap trying to go in. Over to Cameron. Cameron with the fadeaway two. Missing it. No one in there for the rebound for SWU. Now over back in Erskine possession.
Schuler getting the rebound recovery, handing it over to Walter. Walter driving it in hard. Nowhere to go with SWU's defense. Looks like that will be a foul with Erskine's ball. Looks like Schuler will be passing it in, handing it over to Brooks. Brooks going in for the long three, missing it, handing it over to SWU.
Over to Addy, now to Dunlap. Dunlap definitely been turning it on more in this second half. Dunlap over to Hunter, to Cameron, over to Addy. Farrell almost losing possession. Over to Dunlap. Great screen by Farrell. Oh, miscommunication. Dunlap to Farrell trying to get a nice 2-point up on the board. Back into Erskine possession.
Brooks handing it over to Schuler. Schuler driving in hard. Over to Miller. Ed Miller going in for the three. Beautiful three performed by Miller. Now making the score 68-60. SWU lead.
Like we mentioned, SWU can't get turned on, but there's plenty of time for Erskine to come back, not only down by 8 points. Cameron coming in though. Cameron getting a 2. Looks like he will also be securing a free throw. 70-60, SWU now back up to a 10-point lead. Cameron getting it. Now it looks like he'll be going up for 2. Cameron going up for the first. Cameron missing it. Only free throw chance. Missing it. Now over to Erskine possession.
With Bell getting the recovery. Charging in hard. Handing it over to Miller. Miller going in. Handing it over to Walter. Walter going in for the 2. Making a beautiful layup by Walter. Handing it back to SWU.
While SWU's defense was there, was not enough to stop. Now 62-70. 8-point lead for SWU. Over to Farrell. Farrell over to Addy. Addy going in slowly. Looking for a screen by Hunter. Getting a mild screen. Over to Hunter now. Hunter trying to get it over to Dunlap. Erskine defense shutting that down immediately. Over to Erskine. Oh, back over. Turning it over. Over to Addy. Addy going in for the dunk attempt, but securing the points and getting a layup. Now 10-point lead. 5:03 left to go. Erskine possession.
Schuler now has possession of the ball. Trying to find a teammate. Going in, passing it to Miller. Miller passing it to Walter. Walter going in for the 2. losing control of the ball, but regaining it. Passing it, trying to pass it to Bell, but Dunlap getting the steal, passing it.
Dunlap coming over. Hey! Looks like SWU has called a timeout, but still securing the points. 74 to 62, 12-point lead. We'll be back in a moment on SWU Sports Network.
Miller passing it over to Schuler. Erskine has the ball. Schuler trying to drive it in. Passing it over to Miller. Back to Schuler. Prelude now in possession. Trying to drive it in. Trips. Prelude trips and falls. Erskine still in possession, but Schuler passing it in for Erskine.
Dunlap coming out now for SWU.
Schuler over to Walter, back to Schuler. Back to Walter. Walter trying to go in for the two.
Defense dumping.
Steals.
Farrell coming on top of that like no one's business. Over to Addy now. Addy still in possession, trying to get past the defense, gets a break in the defense. Over to Hunter, over to Bradford. Bradford trying to go in now. Over to Cameron. Cameron, Addy coming in, trying to get that, giving it back over to Erskine.
With Walter, Prelude handing it over to Schuler. Schuler trying to go in for the layup.
Great block by Cameron.
Prelude to Miller, back to Prelude. Prelude going in for the three, but missing the three.
Hunter getting the rebound. Addy now coming in here for SWU. Addy trying to make something happen here. Over to Farrell. Farrell trying to get a low pass over to Bradford. Now back over to Erskine.
Schuler handing it over to Miller. Miller going in for the long three. Making a beautiful swish by Miller. Now making the score 74-65. SWU lead. Timeout
here for Erskine with exactly 3 minutes left to go before the end of this game. Definitely SWU's leads are starting to pick up. DeMarcus Addy expanding his lead by 21. Julian Cameron now with 18. Solomon Smith with 13. Travis Walters is tied now with Julian Cameron with 18. RJ Bell 14.
And Tavis Bridges with a total of 6 points.
Definitely both offenses starting now. Not even starting, already in their elements, but SWU still pulling ahead here. Both teams trading back and forth. Even without looking and just watching the game, you can tell that SWU is definitely holding more possession than Erskine. How much is not really a factor right now. We see that Erskine's defense is holding us off, making some good plays, but SWU is still coming out on top here. But Erskine definitely putting up a fight to stay within winning range. With only 3 minutes left, Erskine will need to pick this up to come within a closer reach of SWU.
No matter what Erskine is trying to do with every point that they get, it seems like SWU is coming back with harder and stronger force to keep them in the lead.
DeMarcus Addy carrying it in for SWU within possession. Addy finding Bradford. Bradford back to Dunlap. Over back to Addy. Trying to push back Addy. Finding Smith. Bradford hard pushing in. Going up. Not being able to make it. No one there for the rebound. Erskine possession.
Bridges getting the rebound. Handing it over to Bell. Bell handing it over to Schuler. Schuler trying to drive it in but being held back. Handing it to Miller. Miller driving it in. Handing it over to Bridges. Bridges going in for the long two. Missing it. With SWU possession.
Dunlap recovering the ball here. Ref blowing the whistle. Looks like it will still be in SWU's possession. Oh, looks like Dunlap will actually be getting a chance to go for a free throw or two. Looks like you'll have the opportunity for two shots, potentially making this 76-65. Missing the first one, only one attempt now over Erskine possession.
Schuler getting the ball. Trying to drive it in hard, passing it back to Bell. Bell driving it in hard, passing it all the way back to Miller. Miller going in for the three, but Addy getting the block. What a beautiful block by Addy.
Looks like ref calling Addy out on that. I don't know exactly what he did, but will result in free throws for number 2, Jalen Miller.
We have seen many great threes performed by Miller as he goes in for the first free throw. Making the first one. Making the score now 74-66, still SWU lead. He gets one more. Scratch that, he actually gets one more now. Missing the second free throw. Going in for the last free throw. Making the last one, now making the score 74-67 with SWU possession.
Addy bringing it back in now. Dunlap trying to get it over to Addy with heavy defense. Solomon. Smith coming in now, giving it back over to Dunlap. Dunlap trying to make something happen here. Smith giving him a mild screen. Over to Bradford now, back over to Dunlap. Over to Cameron. Cameron over to Smith. Smith over to Addy, trying to give him a screen for it. Addy going in for the three, not being able to get it. Giving it back over to Dunlap. Does that count? Dunlap with it, but don't think that will be points for them. Oh no, a free throw for Solomon Smith.
Looks like number 1 for Erskine, Jalen Edwards, will be coming into the court.
Smith going up. Getting the backboard. 77-67. 10-point lead now for SWU. 1:38 left. Looks like Solomon will have one more try to expand to 11 for SWU. Solomon going in for the second one. Solomon Smith converting both free throws for SWU. 78-67 now.
Looks like Erskine will get ball possession with Brooks passing it in.
Looks like they may be having some trouble. Now taking it down to 76.
Schuler in possession. Handing it over to Miller, back to Bell. Bell going in for the long three, missing it. Bell getting recovery, going in for a two. Missing the 2 with Addy getting recovery.
Addy passing. Ref calling in for some taking. Looks like there might have been a communication between the board and the ref. Now 76-66, 10-point lead. But number 13, DeMarcus Addy, will have a chance now to pull that above 10. First, now 77-66.
Looks like
Erskine called timeout. Be right back on SWU Sports Network. Coming back in now, DeMarcus Addy still leading, total of 22 points. Julian Cameron not far behind with 18, and Solomon Smith with 15.
Travis Walters now leading Erskine with a total of 18 points. RJ Bell coming in with a total of 14, and Jalen Miller coming in with a total of 7. Both teams coming back in from the timeout. DeMarcus Addy now getting ready for his shooting foul free throws.
Addy now going up. Making it 78-66. A fair lead now. Erskine back in possession.
Looks like number 12, Bell, will lose control of the ball, knocking it out of bounds, handing it back over to SWU's possession.
Addy now coming again, giving it over to Dunlap. Dunlap giving it back over to Addy. Addy getting double teamed here, still making it out, giving Cameron a wide open. Goes up now, makes it 80-66 with less than a minute to go. Erskine possession.
Looks like number 1, Jalen Edwards, will be passing it in for Erskine. With 59 seconds left in the game. Edwards handing it over to Schuler. Edwards going in for the long shot, missing the 3, handing it over back to SWU.
Addy now in possession, pushing it down mid. Now trying to run out as much time as possible. Addy getting heavy pressure by Erskine defense, breaking through. Beautiful dunk assist, Addy over to Farrell. 82-66 with 37.6 seconds left. Addy now in possession here. Addy still in. Addy pushing up.
Looks like that will be a foul on Erskine, number 12, Bell.
Addy now going in for some free throw attempts.
A possibility of almost getting a 20-point lead.
Dunlap not going up. Addy, excuse me. Addy making the first, 83-66. SWU definitely starting to run away with this game. Long gone. Addy going in for second, 84-66.
Can SWU make it a 20-point lead with a score of 86-66?
SWU currently leading right now by 18 points.
Looks like there will be a shooting foul for number 10, Devin Gallegos.
Missing the free throw. Now back over into possession for DeMarcus Addy. Looks like that will be game.
With number 10, Devin, trying to